3 years ago on the Owyhee River, I noticed these pale morning duns hatching, and they had a trailing shuck attached to them in its entirety. They were emerging from this shuck. And it wasn't just a bunch of loose antron fibers. It was actually a tube hanging on to the abdomen. I mean, it was crawling out of this tube. So I was thinking, well, what can I do to imitate this? Well, I started playing around with it. And I came up with this fly. So if you notice that there's a tube here, you can see the difference. It's not just a bunch of loose antron fibers. So then I started playing around with methods of mass producing these things. So I devised a means to make multiple trailing shucks production-wise. So what I do, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see? I've got to get this camera dialed in. But what I do is I take a piece of 6X and I tie a triple surgeon's knot. And then I take this and I put this over here. And I rest it. So I have about 6 or 7 or 8 pre-made triple surgeon's loop on my vise. So I'm going to tie on a hank of antron on this hook. Well, come on, baby. And then I will take this thread and I'm going to put a little wax on it. I wax this thread so I can tie another triple surgeon's knot and attach it to this end. Can you see what you can't see what I'm doing, can you? Okay, so I've tied a triple surgeon's loop on my thread, and I'm going to take it on my antron, and I'm going to move it down here. I'm going to cinch it and rest it. Then I take my 6X loops and I put it on the antron and tighten it. So I will do that, and then I'm manufacturing these little trailing shucks. Okay? So instead of going through this whole thing, I've shown you what I've done. And then I'm going to tie a trailing shuck pale morning dun. So I just start off with a size 16 hook, which I thought I had right here. And I use a lot of 16-aught Vivas thread. It's a strong thread. It's fine. It adds no bulk to the fly. And I just start a little bit behind the eye. And I advance my thread all the way to the bend of the hook and back, so when I tie on my Antron shuck, it doesn't slip around. So I don't want this shuck to be too terribly long. I only want it past the bend of the hook a little bit. Size 16. You can make these in 18s too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this end, these loose fibers, and make a tail. And then I will drop a little bit of glue on the knot so it won't ever come apart. So then I'm going to advance my thread slightly, and I'm going to invert my vise, and I'm going to take a little piece of, this is 3/0 silk thread. It's called pinky brown. It's a YLI silk thread. You have to get it online. Most sewing shops don't carry it, but they have a variety of colors, and they're a greater variation than Pearsall's. But it's the same size as Pearsall's Gossamer silk. And I'm going to use this for my rib, okay? Then for the dubbing on the abdomen, I'm going to use a super fine pink Cahill thread. Pink Cahill dubbing. And I'm going to rib it with this thread. And for a wing, I'm using Canada Goose CDC, which is you can't buy this stuff. You have to know people who hunt geese, and then you have to either pluck them yourself or have them pluck them for you, and then you have a big bag of stuff. And I will sit in my easy chair in the morning and have a cup of coffee, and I will match them, and I'll pair them up and tape them. Okay? So this is going to be my wing. So I've taped them to where the concave points meet. The feathers are like this rather than this way. Okay, they're not this way, they're this way. And I preen the feathers to where it's the right length. And then I will clip it. I always clip the excess off prior to tying it on the hook, because when I first started doing it, if I had a bunch of loose stuff in front, I frequently would cut my thread and then I'd have to start all over again. So this 16-aught Vivus is not a multi-fibered thing like, I don't know, what do they call it? That stuff that you can split and put stuff in and do stuff. But this grips this CDC like crazy, and it will not, the wing will never pull out. So normally on mayflies, the abdomen is a little bit lighter in color than the thorax. So for the thorax, I'm going to use this stuff. Nature's, where am I here? Nature's Spirit Hendrickson Natural Wool Dubbing. And I just use a little bit. I don't use a whole lot. So maybe about this much. Then I will pull the wing back, and I'll dub this to behind it to elevate the wing. And then I will put a little dubbing in front. And whip finish it. Put a little glue on there, and you got a good fly. Okay, can you see that? You can also spread these little fibers on each side to make legs. It's a deadly fly. When the mayflies start to emerge and they're stuck in the surface film and they're trying to get out, this trailing shuck is there. It's clearly on them. In fact, I even see them flying around sometimes with them still connected. And during that time, this fly is really, we've caught hundreds of fish on the Owyhee with this fly.